Hello and good Wednesday morning, and welcome into, well, meant Wednesday. Let's say it that way. If you're not watching or listening on Wednesday morning, happy Wednesday.
Nonetheless, happy hump day.
Welcome to Big Talk College Sports with a Midwest Perspective, Blue Collar and Blue Blood. Coming to you on the Believe and Lounge Sports Network and the ASAP All Sports All Plays Network. I'm Sam Sprunger. As always, Tony Hollinsworth. How are we today?
Best believe it. Believe.
That's right. Don't stop believing.
Do you believe in life after love?
It depends if I get the picks right.
Ooh.
But it depends if I analyzed the matchups correctly. And
fair enough.
But yesterday we talked about the first semifinal of the CFP bracket, Penn State, Notre Dame. Tony's going with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I'm taking Penn State. Right now it's a 1.5-point favorite for Notre Dame. That's essentially, they're calling it even money, basically. Yeah. There's not much differences in those two teams, so we think that's going to be a good game tomorrow when we get to it. And but today we are going to talk about the Cotton Bowl, which is Friday, kickoff at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. The number 8 seeded Ohio State Buckeyes and the 5th seeded Texas Longhorns. One of these teams is opening next season with a revenge game, Tony.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, well, it's in Columbus, so correct. Ohio State, I think, is gonna have a little bit of the edge. I think here's what's really gonna be interesting: is do we think if Ryan Day loses this matchup, is he even gonna be there for the revenge game?
Yes, he will be. I think no matter what happens the rest of the way out, he's earned his job for next year.
You think just because of the fact that he whooped both Tennessee and Oregon?
Yes,
that he did enough.
Yes, especially with
not saying I don't.
Especially with the revenge game factor of we played them and only lost a 1-point game in Autzen Stadium, and now they went and thumped them at the Rose Bowl. It was 34-0 before Oregon could open their mouths. It was just like, and they were down 34-0.
But hey, like we've talked about, and like Kirk Herbstreit apparently got attacked for. those Ohio State fans, they don't care. You better beat the team up north, because if you don't, apparently they're going to run you out. It doesn't matter if you bring home a national trophy or not.
That's great that you want. I don't. No. Be logical. You're going to go through stints where you just don't beat your rival. You're just not gonna. It happens. Every rivalry, every good rivalry goes through this.
Oh, yeah, because you never want a rivalry to just be one-sided. Yeah, you want it to go back and forth. Heck, look at how long Ohio State dominated Michigan all the way up until 2021. They won 12 out of the last 13 or 14
I think it was.
Yeah. It's like Michigan had only beat them twice in the last 20 years. Okay, it makes it a little bit more interesting. Because think about when Ohio State does beat Michigan again. The city of Columbus is going to erupt. They are going to go nuts. That's going to be their equivalent of a Super Bowl. They're going to have a parade in downtown Columbus the day that they beat Michigan again. So,
and the thing is why can't you should want both.
You should
want both.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, I understand. I am a fan of a rivalry game, okay, or of a team that has an intense rival in football. Granted, it might not be the game, but it's still a huge rivalry. The Old Oaken Bucket is it used to be the IU Purdue Super Bowl.
Yep,
because they just weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the game they play. So I understand the intense rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
I would take Ryan Day's record every day of the week, twice on Sunday, and I would take the losing record against the rival.
I would.
Please.
I would take that for LSU.
Have some logic. I don't necessarily disagree that, yes, he's brought in to win a rivalry game. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's winning national titles, or at least getting, this big tournament,
mm-hmm.
Up until last year, you had to be one loss, no more than one loss. You're toying with it if you've got two.
Yeah.
So you have to be perfect.
Yes.
You have to be perfect. And now with this 12-team matchup or bracket, you have some room to slip.
Yes.
And it also allows you to play under a veil of what are we really compared to what we're showing everybody we are. I think I don't have any evidence from anything other than this just makes sense to me. I think Ryan Day has been planning for this since they announced the 12-feed team tournament was coming.
I agree.
We're going to dumb it down for everybody until we hit the tournament, and then we're going to blow doors off of good teams. First 2 weeks, case in hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's not taking anything away from Texas. I just don't think they've got enough.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the other thing, too, because I wanted to look it up because I was really curious about, because I remember hearing that Ohio State had a little bit of a downward trend there, and it wasn't really until the late 80s that Ohio State had a really downward trend. Came back up in the 90s, had a little bit of a downtrend in the into the 90s, early 2000s. And then you want to know the worst season Ohio State has had in since the year 2000, the last 25 years?
It was probably COVID.
Nope. COVID, they actually had a really good year.
Percentage-wise.
Yeah.
They played 4 games, dude. Okay, come on.
They played 8.
Well, I'm sorry. They only won 5 games. I apologize, or something silly like that.
Yeah.
But still. But go ahead. Sorry.
So their worst season, since the year 2000 was in 2011. They went 6-7. Luke Fickell was the head coach. It was after Jim Tressel left, and it was the year before Urban Meyer got there and took them to 12-0. In 2012. Ever since then, they have not had a season less than 11 wins, with the exception of COVID, and they only played 8 games. They went 7-1. Their one loss being they got the absolute dog crap kicked out of them by Alabama in the national championship. Nonetheless, though, this is an Ohio State team that you have to think about that. You look at when Urban Meyer was there. He was there from 2012 until basically 2018. And he went 12-0, 12-2, 14-1, 12-1, 11-2, 12-2, and then 10-1 for the little bit of time left that he was there. Ryan Day, his worst year typically has been 11-2 with the exception of COVID. I would take that all day, every day. And for the fact that Ohio State is, he hasn't beat Michigan since 2019. Who cares? Who cares? You are sitting at your worst season is 11-2, and you're sitting here complaining. What? You know how many teams would kill? Okay, you're a Purdue fan, for example.
I've already been on the record 17 times saying,
yes,
I would take that over beating my rival.
Look at Vanderbilt. You think Vanderbilt would kill to be 11-2 every year on a down year, or is Nick Saban
to Tennessee? Who is their rival?
Technically Tennessee. Tennessee's their in-state rival.
So Kentucky, is that like their last game of the week, rivalry week game?
I don't know who Vandy's is. I'll have to look that up, actually.
Not extremely important, but I was going to use that example earlier, too. Do you think Vanderbilt would care if they lost to their rival, if they could be in contention? No, absolutely not.
No, not at all.
A couple of stats that I'd been listening to, and that Rose Bowl game. This is why I think, and I've gone on the record before, gonna do it again with this semifinal. I think Ohio State is far and above at this point the best team in the tournament. I think they're the best team of the 4 remaining. I don't even think it's relatively close, to be honest with you, because of what they've done both weeks of this tournament. And I'm not even talking about the blowing up for 40-plus points. Let's look at their defense against Oregon. Oregon, what do you think? What comes into your mind other than the uniforms comes into your mind when you say the Oregon Ducks football team?
As far as like if they have a specialty or something that they're like really known for, that's really about it. Because I mean, they can recruit really well. That's the other thing. They can get they can get a lot of 5 stars, they can get a lot of 4 stars. But as far as other than uniforms,
you're going in a different direction. I don't disagree. But if you had to think of a side of the ball, would it be offense or would it be defense? That is probably their best. They've got a good defense. They've got a good offense. Which side do you say that they're most well known for? Their offense. Because they can score at will. If you remember the Big Ten championship game, they were always keeping Penn State at an arm's length. Penn State would score, they'd go right back down and score again.
Right.
Once they made it a 2-score game, I shut it off.
Yeah.
Because I thought as soon as it becomes a 2-score game, Penn State needs to go down and score on this next thing. They didn't. Okay, I'm turning it off. I'll keep paying attention to it on my phone, but I'm not going to sit and watch it.
Right.
Okay, fine. Oregon averaged something like 476 yards of total offense per game.
Yeah. With
their lowest being against, I believe, Boise State at like 370 something. I don't know these numbers exactly. If I'd have done my homework after I heard the stat, I would know this for sure. But against Ohio State, 270 yards. 270. Yep. Ohio State did that to the Oregon offense that could score at will.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that. They sacked them 8 times. They didn't touch Dylan Gabriel in Autzen Stadium. You go into average yards per play. Their worst game, Oregon's worst game, was against Wisconsin, where they were averaging about 4.1 yards per play. Against Ohio State, they averaged less than 3.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're the Oregon's was the best offense in the tournament, but they were a darn good offense that got shut down by a defense that a lot of people were like, yeah, they're okay. Okay. So they kept Oregon's offense to 21 points, and some of those points were in cleanup time.
Right.
And this Josh Heupel genius offense of Tennessee barely could scrape 17 points together.
Yeah.
That to me is more impressive than what they've done offensively. It's not, I'm not saying it's not impressive what they've done offensively, but I think their defense is what's carrying them right now, and they've got a really good offense to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm looking. Okay. You were right. It was Boise State. They only got 352 yards of offense against Boise State. Okay. Maryland was real close behind them. They had 363 against Maryland. So they were real close against them. Yeah, most everybody else, they had almost 400 yards, if not over 400 yards.
But Ohio State only gave up 270-some yards to them.
Yeah, which is crazy, and especially if you looked at the first matchup against each other, it was Oregon had 496 total yards, Ohio State had 467.
And Tony, a lot of that time was cleanup time too.
Yeah, 100%.
So Oregon was getting like empty. They're like, when you're eating just a bag of chips that's all empty calories, Oregon was eating just empty yards that meant nothing. And they got to 275, I think it was, or 76.
Yeah.
Something silly, but 3 yards or just under 3 yards of play.
Yeah. And you have to think too, when you look at this Oregon team as a whole, especially what they did all season, with the exception of 2 games, they scored over 31 points in every single win that they had. The only exception against Idaho, they won 24-14, and against Wisconsin, they only won 16-13. Other
Which
than
was
that,
their anomaly game, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we talked about that too. They had to go to Camp Randall, which we said was going to be a difficult place to play, especially at a night game. It was cold. And don't get it twisted, Oregon is used to facing some, cold games because of where they're at in Oregon, the fact that they've had to face Washington and whatnot. So they've dealt with some cold. This Midwest cold.
Wisconsin cold.
This Midwest cold is a different type of cold.
You can go
ask the little mini snowstorm that we've had and the fact that we're dropping into single digits at nighttime now.
Ridiculous.
This Midwest cold is a different type of cold. But no, I do agree. When you think of Oregon, and even historically, if you think of Oregon, it's almost always been offense. You can go back with the Chip Kelly years with Marcus Mariota. You can look at even just as recently as last year with Bo Nix. Even before that, Justin Herbert. You can look at Dylan Gabriel now. They've always had a prolific offense. And don't get it twisted, Dan Lanning's a very good defensive coach. He has brought a really good defense to Oregon.
But he's a very smart coach in bringing a good offensive coordinator in to run a good offense.
Which to me hurts a lot of coaches, both collegiately and professionally, when they don't do that. But yeah, to me, it's one of those you're kind of surprised at how well Ohio State held them down, both offensively and the fact that defensively, Oregon just couldn't stop Ohio State for anything. Typically if one kind of falters, okay, we'll come in, we'll play a little bit of cleanup, we'll try to keep a little bit closer. Neither side of the ball could do it until really the second half, and then Ohio State's like, look, we've already dropped 34 points on you. Oh, hey, we'll score a touchdown just to make sure we can seal the victory. Then, other than that, we don't really care what you do at this point.
Well, that's another thing that is a feather in the Ohio State defensive cap is they gave up the 8 points. That touchdown 2-point conversion right at the end of the first half. Oregon knew they were getting the ball back, so they got the ball back, and they went down and scored.
Yep.
It was 34-15. You're like, okay, it's still 3 scores, but it's a lot less comfortable than 34-0. You just have that, that feel of unease, and then Oregon stops Ohio State and forces them to punt, and it's almost like, uh-oh.
Is this the turning point?
Hold on here, because if they put 7 on the board, it's 41-21 with most of the second half to play.
Right.
And to the credit of Ohio State, they said, It was almost like they were stomping on a bug. Like, nope, you bugged me enough. Done.
Yeah.
They stopped them. They went down and scored, made it 41-15, and that was the end of it.
Yeah. Well, and you have to think too that that's what the good teams do is you absolutely cannot let your foot off the gas pedal, because the minute you do is when it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. The second that you do that. So good on Ohio State for that. And in all honesty, I think that is what is going to potentially propel Ohio State over Texas.
I got such a pain right here, Tony.
Oh,
you know why?
Why?
Picking Ohio State to win this game.
I'm picking Ohio State to win.
I joke, but like I'm not in any way, shape, or form as a fan an Ohio State fan. So don't take this as, oh, you're just jumping on the bandwagon. No, I'm not. I really
right.
If Ohio State, and I said the IU Notre Dame game would be like the White Sox and the Cardinals playing in the World Series.
You want both to lose.
Yeah, I want both to lose, but if it gets to be Ohio State and Notre Dame, like the fan in me, it would be like, it would be like the Cardinals and the White Sox playing in the World Series. Like they're both like I just don't like them. Actually, it would be more like the Reds and the White Sox playing in the World Series. I absolutely abhor Notre Dame, and I'm not a very big fan of Ohio State anyway. So
I say, would you kind of root for Ohio State purely because they are a Big Ten team, and then the future Big Ten team?
I wouldn't go Ohio State, but I'd be like, all right, cool.
So you wouldn't start
Notre
out
Dame didn't win.
So you wouldn't say OH is what you're telling me?
I would, if somebody says OH to me and I live in Ohio, I say NO.
Come on, man. They need help spelling out their state. That's why it takes
Nope.
2 people to spell 4 letters. Or like the video,
N-O.
like the video I showed you of the Ohio State interview of who's Battle of the O's, whose O is better. Oh yeah, Ohio's better because we have 2 O's in our name. Oregon only has 1. Yeah,
except for there are 2 O's in Oregon.
Don't forget that O at the very end. He probably thought it was an A, to be honest.
No, what he's thinking is we start and end with O is what he should have said, not we have 2 O's.
I don't know. I think legitimately he's like, oh no, Oregon. Yeah, it's an A. There's an A in there. There's no second O. They only got 1 O, and it's in the beginning.
So we haven't talked hardly anything about Texas. Hey, these guys are very good. They're 12-2 or not 12-2, 13-2, I think is what they are.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You know, they're not 13-2 for no reason. You know, they're a really good program and a really good team. And it's I don't think Quinn Ewers, I don't think Arch Manning, you could put them both on the field at the same time, both with a football, and I don't think they beat Ohio State. I really don't. Yeah. They are a very balanced team. If you look at balanced teams coming into the tournament, Texas and Notre Dame are the 2.
Yeah.
In my mind. With the way they're performing in the tournament, Ohio State is the best with Texas and Notre Dame combining and still not being able to meet what Ohio State's doing. I really am a believer in what Ohio State's doing right now. And if I fail at it and they lose, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But I really, truly believe, having watched these guys enough, that I think Ohio State is the real deal. I think Ryan Day advances to the championship game to take on James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions, and we have an all Big Ten national championship game,
which would be cool.
And they're more traditional than if Oregon was one of the 2.
Right. And it would be cool because then we could get a rematch of the first time when Ohio State won. Could Penn State potentially capture the same magic Ohio State did and come out with a win? I agree. I think
they're playing 2 different teams, but we'll analyze that one after both the teams advance, if that's the way it happens.
Correct. I do think Texas is probably the only team left that could really give Ohio State a run for its money.
I don't disagree. I
don't
disagree at all.
But like we talked about before the show, the biggest fear to me with Texas, and I've noticed this for years with them, is because Texas is such a big brand, because everybody hypes up how good Texas is. They always come in super highly ranked. Up until the last couple of years, they fell on their face extremely badly when they were that highly ranked. Look at how well they are. Look at how well they're going to do. Then they come into the big game and they choke almost every single time. What happens, I've noticed, is Texas gets extremely cocky. Like, oh yeah, we've got this. We're the favorites. All we got to do is just come in, keep doing what we're doing. They're just going to kind of roll over. And, I know we talked about it a little bit, earlier in the year. That's what happened against Georgia. They're like, oh, Texas is the odds-on favorite. They should smash Georgia, and the exact opposite happened. Yeah. Same thing happened again. They're like, okay, we're gonna rewrite the ship. We're gonna get our way to the SEC championship. Oh, we had to face Georgia again. All right, we're keeping it close. We can still do this. Oh, we knocked out Carson Beck. We have Gunnar Stockton. Oh, we got this. They choked the game away. They did the same exact thing against Arizona State. Oh, we're up by 3 scores. We absolutely got this
to 5 or something like that, wasn't
it? It was a crazy score. It's like, oh, we got this. We'll crush them easily. We're supposed to be the favorites, and then they let them come back in the game because they got cocky. I could very easily see Texas potentially going up on Ohio State if they capitalize on an Ohio State mistake. But then I guarantee Texas will get cocky, and for Ohio State with the momentum that they've had and they kind of had the opposite attitude of, no, be cocky, Oregon, we're going to punch you in the mouth. Tennessee, be cocky, we're going to punch you in the mouth. And I think they're going to do the exact same thing to Texas when it comes time for the game.
All right. Well, I don't think Texas even gets a chance to get up on them. I really don't. But that brings us to I'm taking Ohio State. Yep. And you're taking Ohio State as well.
Orange down.
I have Ohio State, Penn State. You have Ohio State, Notre Dame
Notre
in
Dame.
the national championship game. So, Tony, that brings us to the end.
Does.
So we've got to wait for some games to happen so we can talk about them on Friday. But Tony, on the way out, let everybody know where they can find us. At this point, I'll have some updated slides hopefully next week.
Okay. Oh, and little plot twist: there is a secret stigma. If Notre Dame loses, they have to join the Big Ten. If they lose to Ohio State, just throwing it out there. Just to go.
What if they lose
happen.
to Penn State? They got to do it anyway.
Yeah, they still got to join the Big Ten. Nonetheless, though, you can find us.
So they've got to win it all to stay independent.
Yes, 100%.
Fair.
That makes sense to me. I feel like that's only fair.
Yeah.
You can keep your independence if you can win it all.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. But you can find us on Facebook at B1G Talk. That's Big Talk B1G Talk. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and X, formerly known as Twitter, at B1G_Talk. That's Big Talk with a 1 instead of an I_talk. You can find us every week on the All Sports All Plays Network. Actually, that's probably going to change because you'll be able to find us at least 3 times, I believe.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the All Sports All Plays Network on Believe and also the Lounge Media Group. You can also, if you are a fan of ASAP, you can get us on the Android and Apple Store app, whichever one that you have, whichever one is your preference. Totally up to you. And then each and every one of these episodes, no matter how long they are, whether they're less than 30 minutes or up to, Sam's going to upload them to the Lounge Media Group later on that day, so that way you can get it wherever you get your podcasts from.
Yeah, the Lounge Media Group is the parent company to the Lounge Sports Network, which is the umbrella that Big Talk falls under, but it's a production of Lounge Media Group. So, yeah, we get that out there. That way you can find them anywhere. But thanks to Believe for adding us into their library of shows, but that brings us to the end of the show this week. See, I'm still in the old mode for today. We'll see you on Friday when we'll have one winner to talk about. Will it be Tony or will it be me that was correct for the Orange Bowl with Notre Dame and Penn State? But for Tony Hollinsworth, I'm Sam Sprunger. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you Friday.